Hi folks, we are building a full-blown replica of the robot Johnny 5 from one of my favorite movies ever, Short Circuit. Today we're going to use the UMC-750 to make a toe tip bracket, which is what helps him tip up when he gets really excited. So we had planned for this to be one of the first 5-axis part we ever made. Then we ended up making the tool post for that fellow Theo, which was an awesome project. And then we had Project Egress come up, where we made over 20 parts. But all of those parts were very different than the part we're tackling today. Getting our part set up on the machine with 5th-axis work, it is so important to have things like our work holding, our stock, our tool lengths that we've done in Fusion 360 match what we've got on the machine. Probing our part in, got a relatively thin part sticking out, and I was so focused on understanding, would the 5th-axis vise hold this part securely, accurately, would there be chatter or vibrations, and I was really pleased with the results. However, we made one mistake, which is this is 1044 hot rolled material. That hot rolled steel has scale on it, and because of that scale, the part wasn't sitting perfectly perpendicular or straight up and down in the vise. Not the end of the world, especially on this part. We got lucky. You'll see here later in the video, it's one reason why the part face didn't completely clean up. Even though the way we had this model in Fusion, there should have been sufficient stock on each side of the part. Whether you're an R&D shop, prototyping, job shop, having a really reliable, consistent setup and workflow for your fixturing and your stock is so important. So card here to the NYCCNC page. We've got tips and tricks videos on how we set up our 5-axis parts, as well as sample Fusion 360 setup files and more. For this adaptive, we're trying out a new holder. This is a hydraulic tool holder from YG1. We'd heard good things, so we were excited to try this. And here's what I love about hydraulic holders. There's no other parts or machines to mess with. So if you want to switch out to a different 3/8 inch end mill, all you need is one wrench, a couple of turns. The hydraulic pressure relaxes, allowing you to remove that tool. You can put the new tool in, and they have really low run out. I wasn't sure if the fact that it was a hydraulic holder and the longer gauge length and the long part stick out would give us a fees and speeds or a chatter problem, and it worked awesome. We're running a Helical 3/8 inch end mill, part number 26227, at 880 surface feet, 1.5 thou feet per tooth, 0.04 inch optimal load. Honestly, I just love watching this and listening to it. After a few more adaptive roughing operations, I start slotting. So in this case, we're slotting down enough that we can finish machining and chamfering this back edge, as well as exposing the complete area of the tip of the part so that we can tip this part up and use a really cool end mill to machine this feature. You hit the I key on our keyboard in Fusion. We have to pick two faces to get the measurement I'm looking for. This bottom face, and hold down to Control and click this edge. We get the 3 different distances, the min, the max. This max distance is the one I care about. We need to reach down into a 1.25 inch deep slot that's only a 1/4 inch wide. So I found this reduced neck 1/4 inch end mill. Only a 3/8 inch length of cut, but we've got a reach of 1.625, so plenty deep enough. We ran it at 250 surface feet, just a little over 18 inches per minute. I was really happy with how well this tool ran and how much more rigid the reduced shank end mill is. So if you've got parts where you've got either deep features or pockets or deep slots and you want a more reliable process, push the tool harder, or just want to avoid chatter, definitely check out relieved shank tooling. And finally, to tab this part off. So we're done machining the rest of the part. We need to separate it from the stock using a 2D contour, that same relieved shank tool. Here I was able to use an existing piece of sketch geometry off the solid model, so you can absolutely hop back in and create your own sketch geometry to control this when the solid model doesn't give you what you need. And then under the geometry tab, check tabs. This lets you place tabs of whatever size you want at whatever spacing you want, either by distance or by clicking specific points. And it will update that toolpath to leave material where those tabs are. Once that's done, we flip the part over, we thin that tab out even a little more. So now our tab is quite thin, and depending on how close you want to push it, you can come in with individual cam operations and trim those tabs down even more. If you're wondering how that 2D contour toolpath only cuts in that specific area, I've got the whole chain selected, but we're using the tangential extension distance. I just plugged in some numbers to get something that was close. This is another good example where it can be probably a better workflow to hop into the design environment, create a couple of sketches, and use those sketches to control where your tabs are and how you can then trim them down. But if all goes well, you can actually tear your part off of the raw material when you're done, which is pretty cool. Two other noteworthy 5-axis tips. I have found that we're often posting sections of code at a time, checking things, having to be an iterative process. I've started to add these comments to our 5-axis templates, card here to all of our Fusion 360 templates, and it just says left off, and I'll drag it to just below the last operation that we've finished posting. And it's a good example of trying not to keep something in your head, but rather actually having it documented where you last left off, so you post from the correct operation going forward. And finally, I wanted to show a very important part of our workflow, which is when we are ready to post the code, you can use the Fusion 360 Haas UMC post. It has worked quite well for us, but we're using CAMplete. So we post to the CAMplete APT file, and then we head into the TruePath software, new project, we load that project, and we can use this to either scrub through the part, or we can hit play to run the simulation in the background, and this will check all collisions. It'll check the tool into the part holder into the stock, the whole assembly into any of the fixtures, and it gives us the confidence to know that not only the cutting operations but also the linking moves aren't going to cause a collision, or so many of the operations that we've done when the B is stepped up at 90 degrees, the table platter is actually quite close to the spindle housing. This solves all that for you. As always, folks, hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed. We love machining. Hope these videos help either as entertainment or education for you guys. Either way, take care. See you soon.